Hey everyone, and welcome to today's explainer. I am incredibly excited to dive into this analysis with you. We're not just doing a dry, boring summary today, we are literally embarking on a journey to unlock human potential. Seriously, we're going to explore some truly groundbreaking insights from Carol Dweck's research on mindset. And this isn't just theory, it is the story of growth. It completely breaks down the profound difference between having a fixed perspective on your own abilities versus having a growth-oriented one. By the end of this explainer, you're going to see exactly why one of these mindsets completely trumps the other and what you can do today to adapt the right one. All right, let's get right into it. Take a quick second right now and just look at your hands. I mean, really look at them. How long have they been this way? Probably as long as you can remember, right? The truth is, we have almost zero control over our physical appearance. Our height, the shape of our nose, the exact color of our eyes, those things are pretty much locked in. But here is where it gets super fascinating. According to the research, the things we do have total control over are our skills and our abilities. We aren't just stuck with the mental hand we were dealt at birth. We can actually change our capabilities, and knowing that changes absolutely everything about how we approach our lives. Section 1. Talent versus effort, the core difference. Right at the heart of our success is this massive clash between two totally distinct ways of viewing our own potential. Researcher Carol Dweck figured out that there are basically two distinct attitudes that govern how we live, how we work, and maybe most importantly, how we recover from setbacks. On one hand, you've got the fixed mindset. People operating from this headspace believe talent is absolutely everything. They genuinely think if they aren't naturally gifted at something from day one, they're just doomed to fail. To them, skills are written right into their DNA, just like their eye color. So in their minds, why even try to improve at something you suck at? But then, on the other hand, you have the growth mindset. These individuals believe that whatever they want to achieve is out there, perfectly ready for the taking. The only catch? They know they have to work incredibly hard for it. They dedicate themselves, they practice relentlessly, and it all stems from a genuine, deep desire to learn. They totally live by the mantra that practice makes perfect. Section 2. The Fixed Mindset Trap, How Society Corrupts Potential. Unfortunately, society often pushes us totally away from that growth perspective. And honestly, the corporate world often acts as the primary villain in this story. Think about it. Corporate culture can literally strip away our natural curiosity and back us into a corner where we are absolutely terrified of making even this smallest mistake. Big, prestigious corporations like McKinsey or Goldman Sachs are famous for hiring the absolute best top-tier graduates. But instead of actually training them on the job, they just throw these new hires straight into the deep end. They monitor them intensely for errors, and whoever doesn't perform perfectly and instantly, they get fired. In environments like that, natural talent is king, and people become desperate to look talented 100% of the time. This harsh setup breeds what you might call fixed mindset drones. These are employees who spend all their time and energy window dressing their performance, basically just trying not to look stupid, instead of actually doing productive work. It turns into this huge self-fulfilling prophecy of fear and black and white thinking. Moving to Section 3, the story of saving IBM, a tale of two CEOs. So the real question here is, what happens when leaders at the very top of the food chain operate with these different mindsets, especially during moments of absolute crisis? Well, let's look at two guys who both took over massive, struggling companies and who both actually turned them around initially. The real story is what happened after that first win. First, take Lee Iacocca at Chrysler. After his initial big success, his fixed mindset totally took the wheel. He became incredibly complacent. He started worrying way more about his own personal image than the actual company, constantly seeking approval to prop up his own low self-esteem. He even fired his innovative designers and completely ignored dwindling sales, dragging Chrysler straight back down. Now, contrast that with Lou Gerstner at IBM. This guy had a true growth mindset. He saw that internal corporate battles were completely destroying their teamwork. So what did he do? He literally broke down the old rigid hierarchies. He put himself on a regular employee level so he could communicate better, and he put a massive focus on learning from past failures. That humble, team-oriented approach is exactly what brought sustainable, long-term success back to IBM. Section 4. Michael Jordan's 9,000 Misses, the Power of Failure. Let's pivot away from the corporate boardroom for a second and step right onto the basketball court. Because if you want the ultimate, undeniable proof of the growth mindset in action, you have to look at how people handle failure on the world's biggest stages. Just take a look at this staggering number, 9,000. That is the number of times the man widely considered to be the greatest athlete of all time completely failed to put the basketball in the hoop. Those are the legendary words of Michael Jordan himself. He didn't hide from his failures. He didn't pretend they didn't happen. He actually embraced them as the essential stepping stones to his success. Compare that kind of resilience to a fixed mindset golfer who, misses a single putt and then furiously fires his caddy or throws his clubs into the lake. Jordan never once let a mistake stop him. He used every single miss as fuel to learn and get better. And by fully embracing failure, his airness went on to become the first billionaire basketball player in human history. You see, trying to avoid difficult situations at all costs is the absolute hallmark of a fixed mindset. But let's look at one more phenomenal example outside of sports: Christopher Reeve, the actor famous for playing the original Superman. He suffered an unbelievably tragic horseback riding accident that paralyzed him from the neck down. A person with a fixed mindset would have probably accepted this as the absolute definitive end and, sadly, likely would have passed away soon after. But not Reeve. His incredible growth mindset empowered him to put up a tremendous fight. He became a relentless, fierce activist for spinal cord research. He fought through grueling therapy to the point where he could actually move his arms, his legs, and his upper body again. He even eventually walked across the bottom of a swimming pool. That is the sheer, undeniable power of refusing to accept the limits placed on you. Section 5. We are all born to grow, reclaiming our true nature. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, okay, but that's Michael Jordan, that's Superman. They are just extraordinary people. But I really want to reassure you here. The growth mindset is definitely not some exclusive VIP club just for famous CEOs, elite athletes, or movie stars. It is actually our factory setting. It is our true human nature. Let's trace how this actually develops. At 0 years old, babies literally know no limits. They want to touch, taste, and learn absolutely everything. But amazingly, between the ages of 1 and 3, a mindset can already start to be determined. Get this. Research shows that babies with a growth mindset will actually try to help other crying babies, while fixed mindset babies will just sit there and get visibly annoyed. And then, as we reach school age, our teachers play a massive, critical role. A bad teacher with a fixed mindset might tell a struggling kid that they'll never amount to anything. But a great teacher, they encourage that same kid to study a little differently, to try harder, and to do better on the next test, completely nurturing that innate, natural potential for growth. Section 6. How to change your mindset, the daily practice. So, the big question, how do we actually reclaim this? Let's bring this whole epic narrative right back down to your everyday life, because the great news is, anyone, literally anyone, can develop a growth mindset, and you can relearn it at absolutely any stage in your life. I want to give you the practical tools to reclaim it right now, and it starts with the very small things. Walk through this completely mundane scenario with me. Step 1, you accidentally spill your morning coffee. Step 2, which is the fixed reaction, you instantly associate that tiny failure with your core identity and you blurt out, I'm so clumsy, what is wrong with me? But look at step 3, the growth reaction. You deliberately separate that external failure from who you actually are. You just view it as a one-time isolated event and say, well, I can't change what's done, I'll just mop it up and pay a bit more attention tomorrow. True, lasting mindset shifts actually happen in these tiny, quiet moments. Because when you do this, you free yourself up to spend way more time working towards your actual goals, and far less time stressing over what you incorrectly think is fundamentally wrong with you. Which brings us to the end of today's explainer, and I want to leave you with one final, very real challenge. Think about it. How are you going to react to your very next mistake? Are you going to let it define your genetics and dictate your talent, or are you going to use it as a stepping stone to learn, just like Michael Jordan did? I want to empower you to spend way less time worrying about your perceived flaws and a lot more time actively and joyfully working toward your biggest dreams. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive today. Now go out there and keep growing.